hope I get it right, because I didn't at the performance, but anyway.
I hate to think how much time I spent speculating and introspecting about what I was going to do, how I was going to meet other people, whether I wanted to meet other people, whether what I felt about myself was what other people also felt, not about me but about themselves. And maybe I was doing that while other people were getting on with life.
Connected by a long line of glitter, a long line of glitter, a long line.
I absolutely had no idea what my life was going to look like or sound like or be like.
But you grow up thinking you're the only person on the planet with these needs, tendencies, urges.
I think I was seen as different, and I felt different, but I didn't know what made me different.
I'm here, I'm queer, and I'm freer than I've ever been. I'll say that again. You're here, you're queer. Pathetic. You're here.
I think finding space growing up was difficult. There was always lots of family around, and we were visiting them and they were visiting us. But I think the family saw me as different because most of my cousins, all my cousins, conformed. They might argue that they were not conforming, but they weren't doing what I was doing, which was to get up and make a fool of myself on stage, or act, or become somebody else on stage. And becoming somebody else on stage is a good way of not being yourself. It's a good way of hiding who you are.
When I grew up, I thought I was the only one that was gay. I'm sure a lot of people of my generation thought the same.
Each of us individually go through a process of trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense. So we become really self-reflective, and we have to kind of own the little of who we are.
I know, and I was just mortified. I was mortified that they thought it was okay to put it on a banner. Anyway. Well, actually, technically my first instrument was my voice. And I think it gave me quite a kind of strong identity and kind of kept people off me. When I was 11, it was my birthday. Dad brought this accordion case over and said, "Happy birthday, Linda. We know you really, really want an accordion, but for this birthday we could only afford the case. And but it's a promise that you'll have one." And I just looked at it, I never touched it or anything like that. I just looked at it and thought, it's fantastic. I'm going to get an accordion. And then I went to do something with it, and it was heavy, and I opened it up. I don't even know where they got it or how they could afford it or whatever. It was just totally gobsmacked. So it's like I really had to learn to play it.
When I was just a little child, I asked the question, what shall I be? Will I be hetero? Will I be trans? Soon it was clear to me. Que sera, sera.
Yes, being born or raised in the pre-internet age, I don't ever remember that my feelings were wrong, more about I perhaps shouldn't reveal them. Certainly my first recollections of dressing, I might have been 9 or 10. Back in the 1970s, shall we say, where did a young trans person get their clothes from? There was no internet to order from. Can you go to the shops and get them? You'd need to be pretty brave to do that in the 70s as a 17-year-old. And the answer is the washing line. I suspect the vast majority of thefts from washing lines back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever, let's say in the pre-internet age at least, were especially if the stolen washing was women's clothes or women's underwear particularly. I'm willing to bet that 99% of the thieves were trans people. I was a police officer, and they wouldn't know my secret. I was probably a little more sympathetic than probably most of my colleagues were.
Ba-dum-bum.
I love plants. I'm a plants man, I would suggest. I'll collect plants, anything that's green and grows. I love it. I would just have a house full of... I'd live in a glass house. Oh, now, I find it very difficult to find peace and calm with myself because of the fear I have, the internal fear of my sexuality, really. It's a really, really big influence. I don't think you can realise the impact it's had on my life. I don't know. Yeah, I heard the word when I was about 4 years old. I was called a poof, and you know, by a complete stranger. It was a young boy who was maybe 4 or 5 years older than me, and it was just said with such aggression and anger and hatred, and I couldn't understand why a stranger would feel that towards those feelings. And when I tried to clarify and find out what being a poof was, I just thought, wow, that must be me, you know, for a 4-year-old. So yeah, it was a lot to process. I don't know if I ever did realise I was gay, because I think even if the thoughts did or do come, it's like push them away and don't accept it, and you know, just deny it, and sometimes it creates a lot of emotional turmoil. I couldn't identify with being gay at all. I felt really negative about myself for being gay because I had labelled myself gay at being 4 years old, and I couldn't see any positives in being gay. So it was a very challenge for me growing up to be myself, because I didn't like myself.
I don't see, ever been like Govern's in the middle of nowhere and you go, you could mince into town in 25 minutes. You just clench the cheeks and you mince like no one's business. Even by Australian standards, Queensland was conservative. I didn't conform, I didn't speak the way other people spoke. There was, in their terms, an effeminacy. But it's not effeminacy at all, it's queer. You know, I really see it like that. I'm not an effeminate man, I'm a queer man. But when I came out, once I'd fallen in love with a friend and had sex, I knew who I was. I wasn't prepared for the world of danger that was actually opening up. So my parents reached a point, my parents left me at a bus stop, and then I tried to kill myself, and I'd been put into hospital, and my parents came in and agreed to sign off that I was to be physically castrated and chemically lobotomized because I was a recidivist homosexual. Fortunately, at the Psychiatric Institute, and this could be done to you in Queensland, it was quite common. One of the nurses, who was camp as a row of tents, took me and said, right, I'm going to tell you what you have to do, and you're going to have to do this, and it's not going to be easy. You've got to crack on to every male in this institution. You've got to lurk in the showers and perv on people, and you've got to look comfortable doing it. You've got to look like you're a predator. Think of it as a role in a play. The better you do it, the easier this is going to be. So, I did. So they held a special meeting within 3 days and said, we need to remove him, he's a disturbance. And they hadn't realised that there was a court order to keep me. So they straight away said, we can't help you, we're going to release you. And as I left the hospital, the nurse with his boyfriend was waiting downstairs with a car.
They drove me to South Brisbane. South Brisbane was where the interstate train station was. Once you were on the train station, this is the way Australia used to work, you were in New South Wales. The Queensland police were not allowed to enter, and court orders only applied in states. So once I was on there, and they made sure I was there within 15 minutes of the train leaving, within 25 minutes I was across the border in New South Wales and made it to Sydney.
The train journey down to Glasgow was a wee lifeline for me. I did go back to Aberdeen regularly, but the coming away out of Aberdeen was quite a relief. I came to Glasgow as another kind of refuge, if you like, somewhere anonymous, that I could sort my life out, because I knew I was gay. I hadn't done anything about it in Aberdeen. Almost begin a new life. I saw people in Glasgow living a straightforward, normal, gay life together, openly, and I felt with that information, with that reassurance, with that affirmation, I decided to go back to Aberdeen and face my devils.
Well, it depends what you mean by coming out and when these things start. It was obviously quite a common thing because lots of girls did it, but you'd practice kissing for the boys so that you knew how to do it. But anyway, so I like to practice. I think by 10 I was kind of quite conscious that my perceptions of girls and women were kind of not what was expected. Anytime Dusty Springfield was on the telly, I was absolutely fascinated by her. Yeah, great voice, great singing, everything else, but I just knew there was something, I don't know, something different.
I got into Canberra and I walked into the middle of Civic, and it was the first time I'd seen two men just holding hands, window shopping in Civic.
First of all, my son is gay. When he was 16, that's when he told me and his mother. I got so much admiration for him, for the courage he had to do that. That has helped me to say, listen, if my 16-year-old son can do this in a far less acceptable era, come on, girl.
I think this cake should probably go like this, shouldn't it? Like a bit like this. Am I actually cutting this? No one's giving me any instructions. Well, this is I've turned into the dinner lady. Still, when I was a kid, I quite fancied the dinner lady.
Looking back, I think it's been a very, very valuable experience to be gay, to have gone through the coming out process, because you know yourself better, and you know yourself better against other people. So you become, I think, a fuller person.
Transgenderism, again, it knows no boundaries. It is nothing to do with, you know, white European, middle class, heterosexual male. It touches everybody and anybody. It's not exclusive to any class, religion, or anything else.
So there's a lot of strong people in LGBT, strong, articulate, clever, and very, very loving. That's a word we don't use very often, but very supportive and accepting.
Then I started to realise straight people live in the same closet, because this is what being straight is. Because we're used to living in the other room, you know, to having to go for a walk when the visitors come, we're used to seeing the world from the outside angle. What is unsavoury to others isn't unsavoury to us. We go, that's actually what human beings are really, really like. And so in a way it gives you an honesty that maybe I wouldn't have had, that I don't think my sister and brother have. They live in a worse closet than I live. I may have been in the other room, but they don't even have that luxury.
2017.
2017.
It's 2017, now I'm me again, enjoying life and involved.
I'm again that child who was lost.
All the significant people in my life have accepted me.
Fulfilled?
Food in my belly and
Not sure, but optimistic and moving on.
I've got food in my belly and a roof over my head. I can't imagine life getting any better.
I don't know who I'm going to become, but isn't that part of the journey?
I want to say,
I want to say,
the person next to you may be going through exactly what you're going through yourself.
I want to say, have
I want
hope.
to say thank you to the pioneers for all the abuse they took long before I ever emerged.
You are not alone.
You can make this happen.
Do it. Go for it.
Same kind of train ride. Oh.